morning, everyone. And first of all, my apologies for starting the program late. 10 minutes, we are 20 minutes late. Sorry for that inconvenience. Welcome, a warm welcome to all of you for this one-day seminar on GST. GST law, since its implementation, the number of challenges which it poses on a day-to-day basis, whether it is interpretation or implementation, are numerous. And considering the due date which is coming up next month on the annual returns 9 and 9C, we thought it is apt to have this seminar, one-day seminar, which will cover various aspects of GST through the day, and different speakers, experts will be taking us through on these subjects. So we thought it is apt to have the seminar, and the structure of the program today is like this, which is like the first session, technical session, will be on section 128A, waiver of interest and penalty under GST Act, which will be taken, which will be addressed by CATR Rajesh Kumar. And the second session will be on safari judgments and its implications, which will be addressed by Advocate KS Naveen Kumar. The third technical session for the day would be GST on related parties transactions. That will be taken through by CA Hanish S. And the fourth session will be on RCM, the reverse charge mechanism on scrap, immovable properties and other aspects, which will be taught by CA Naveen Rajpurohit. And the fifth and the last session for the day would be on the plotted developments, that is on the real estate, GST on real estate, which will be addressed by CA Sandesh Kutnikar. So today, to start the first session, we have CATR Rajesh Kumar with us. I request CA Rejo, my LC member, to escort him into the dais and greet him with a floral bouquet. So thank you for being here. Welcome to you for this session. Before we proceed with the lighting of the lamp, I would like to take a moment to introduce CA Rajesh Kumar TR. He is a BCom, LLB, FCA, DISA and a practicing chartered accountant since 2002. He has completed schooling at Tumkur, and he's been practicing in the indirect taxes in Bangalore for more than 2 decades. He is the proprietor of RKTR and Co Chartered Accountants, and he has represented different clients and before the various authorities, be it SESTAT or other settlement commissions. He has authored number of books on GST, VAT and service tax and central excise. He has also contributed substantially for compilation and revision of study materials of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and also has been involved in many training sessions and has addressed several student bodies as well as members bodies of ICAI, ICSI and ICWAI. He is also a director at FKCCI. It's a pleasure and an honor to have CA Rajesh Kumar TR with us. So welcome to you, and a big round of applause to him. So we'll now have the lighting of the lamp. So I request you to come out to the dais.
येष सुप्तेषु जागृति येष सुप्तेषु जागृति कामं 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 कामुषो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनाद्यति कश्चनाद्यति कश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you. At the outset, I would like to thank Bangalore branch for conducting this particular session at a relevant time, which is very in need of the industry. That can be also seen by the number of people responded to the physical program as well. Okay. The topic which is assigned to me is with regard to the much spoken waiver scheme in the industry. Also, many of the chartered accountants at various places, whenever I meet them, there are a number of questions which they do ask on this very same issue. Who are eligible, who are not eligible, what they need to do, when they have to pay, if it is having other issues, whether they are eligible, whether the period involved is multiple periods, whether I can go for it. So like this, various questions are being raised. I think I will try to address within the time available for me in this. In fact, there are a couple of slides which may be repetition in my presentation that has been made to ensure that, for your reference purpose. So some of them in the process of my deliberation I may skip, but still I think that will be circulated to you for your references at a further point in time. Okay. With this brief introduction, I think firstly, why is this scheme? What was the necessity and what is the background for it? In fact, you would have heard in the initial period of implementation of the GST law, it was told at various forums that in the initial period of implementation, whatever the mistakes you do, we will not question you. That is what was the promise given by the the political front, even the bureaucracy, not bureaucracy, essentially the political setup was being told in various forums, seminars, where there was an apprehension on the implementation of the GST law. At that point in time, they said, don't worry, we have brought this law in a hurried manner without giving much time, very importantly, much time for you to prepare for the transition. But don't worry, we will not harass you, we will give you liberal liberal stand, etc. This was the promise. But when actually for 3-4 years nothing happened and everybody was happy, so nothing is happening. Then came the web. As usual, there was a pressure for the authorities to collect more and more taxes, though not from the central administration, but from the state administration. But the impact of that is that 90% of the assessees are under the jurisdiction of the state. So what will be felt is what is happening around. So most of them are being treated with this type of aggressive approach by the authorities without taking any sort of a liberal approach in their entire audit or inquiry or investigation or passing of order, whatever it may be. So that led to a situation where most of the taxpayers, I'm believing most of the taxpayers have got the notices or orders for the initial 3 years period. Unfortunately, prompt taxpayers, in fact, have paid those also with interest, some of them with penalty. Whereas in some cases, the tax authorities have forcefully collected the taxes and interest and penalties. So I think, sorry for those type of taxpayers. This scheme is probably not for you. Okay, but the people who have resisted or lucky enough not to get the recovery mechanism onto their clutches, or in whatever way they are able to, postpone the liability to be paid, yes, I think there is a chance that they can look into the scheme and go for it. So even if we see the agenda of the council meeting, 53rd GST council meeting, they say there is significant changes, frequent amendments, the taxpayers are yet to adapt. So there is a lot of mistakes and errors which were committed by the taxpayers, and in various cases the orders have already been passed, and if we let go this, the appellate mechanism is going to get too much burden. Either it may be appellate authorities already who are burdened. Further, when the tribunal is going to be formed, it is going to be too much burden on the tribunal setup. So let's come out with some scheme giving a relaxation for this initial 3 period. That is what was the background of the proposal which was given by in fact the law committee also recommended that in that particular. Based on the recommendation, it was put across in the agenda meeting. So the 53rd GST Council meeting accepted the proposal to introduce this scheme through an amendment to a section called 128A. So that it will be through an amendment to section, amendment by insertion of a section 128A in CGST Act as well as SGST Act. There is no specific provision in the IGST Act, but obviously the recovery mechanism or administrative mechanism which is applicable for the CGST GST is equally made applicable by virtue of section 20 of the IGST Act, even for the IGST Act. Hence, this scheme is also equally applicable for IGST also. So this is briefly. So to give effect to this, section 128A was inserted in the Finance Act 2024, and it was made effective from 1st of November 2024 through a notification 17. Later on, if this, when I go to the Act, I will go deeper into it. This Act only gives you the outline, but the conditions, I am repeating the word, conditions and procedures are as prescribed. It is not only the procedure being prescribed, even the conditions are being prescribed. So it is not that we need to look at only the statutory provision of the Act, but also the rules to look at the eligibility conditions. So I think that is where some of us may feel, no, we thought this can also get covered, but it is not getting covered, they are not giving that relaxation. So we will get to know what are all the conditions which are imposed. Then at the routine levels we may not get into, but in extreme cases, somebody who may feel that these conditions which are imposed through our rules, whether it is within the ambit and scope of section 128A, then that will be open to a challenge to some extent before the court of law. So that is the next thing. We need not look at that at this stage, but we will try to see what are all the cases will be eligible for this scheme, who all can be clearly entitled for this scheme, and how they have to go out for it, what are the timelines, what the nitty-gritties in it will show. And further, the CBIC has come out with the clarification through this circular dated 15th of October 2024, 238. So there also it is a 15-page circular. So the government is clarifying the scheme through a 15-page circular. So that means you can think that what are all the different issues which can arise. Okay. So there I felt couple of answers which are being given for certain questions raised in that circular. May be beyond the scope of the scheme, but now that the government has come out with that, obviously the authorities are going to follow the same. So if somebody, we can debate across the table or with the tea or with the snacks, but ultimately whether we will get the benefit of that, then it's a different thing. Then you have to take the issue up the ladder. If you are really having that particular issue as a concern, you are losing out substantially through that clarification, then surely I think you can look at challenging those things. This is a extract of the provision. Basically, this particular section starts with notwithstanding anything with a contrary content in this act. So basically, this is having a overriding effect than any other provisions in the act. So that has some bearing. Somebody is going to challenge that legally. So we can look at that. Now, where any amount of tax is payable by a person chargeable with the tax in accordance with a notice. The important is a notice. Clause 8 is talking about a notice issued under section 73(1). Okay, and rest of them I will not get into. Or there is a statement, basically a periodical thing, we call it as a statement, where order is yet to be passed. So where still order is not passed. So then can we go for this scheme? Answer is yes. Now the question is, what is the cut-off time? Today the notice is there, but order is not yet passed. Can I go to the adjudicating authority and ask, sir, please pass the order? You may ask, why should I do that? Notice is there, for example, consequent to an audit where there are 10 different issues. Out of that, 5 issues you know that is going to clearly should be dropped. So then persuade it faster, get the order passed and go to next clause B rather than applying to a notice as it is at that stage. So you need not wait. So this passing of an order can be till the last day, that is 31st of March 2025. So somebody who is falling into this bracket has to examine, is it a right for me to pay now and go and close the matter, or go further to get the order passed through an adjudication process if there is a chance that you can reduce your liability further so that you are eligible for the scheme. I think this is something which you can look at it. You need not go as, but authorities may say, no, we have pressure, will not pass an order. Probably you should make an official request. In fact, we are trying to make a representation to the authorities, especially this is happening to the state authorities. So to accept wherever the request for the adjudication comes up, to take up them and pass the orders as early as possible. Probably that I think we may have to look at that. So here the important is section 73. Section 73, what is this? Many of you are already aware, 73 is where cases where there is no fraud, willful misstatement of fact to evade tax, suppression of facts to evade tax. So if this doesn't exist, 73 comes. If these said to be exist, okay, then it is 74. If any notice has been issued under 74, then this scheme is not directly applicable. I am using the word directly. Then indirectly, how is it applicable? I will come to that little later. So first of all, prima facie a notice issued under 73 is clearly eligible. 74, let's keep it aside for the time being, we'll come to that little later. Now, an order is already passed. Show cause notice issued, you replied, you did not reply, whatever, order has been passed. Where you have not filed an appeal to the appellate authority. Okay, you have not filed appeal against that order to the appellate authority. And no order is passed. Now this particular clause is talking about only order is passed, appellate authority order has not been passed. It is not talking about filing of appeal. Filing of appeal or not filing of appeal is not mentioned in this clause B. There is a talk, there is a viewpoint in some of our professional friends itself. If somebody has not filed an appeal, they are not entitled for this scheme. But my view is no, It is not, because the clause is only telling order is passed, no order by the appellate authority is passed. Why I am trailing this also, I'll tell you when I go to clause C as well. Further, even if you have filed an appeal, the provision requires you to withdraw that particular appeal, which is nothing but you have come to the state of non-filing of appeal itself. So in that scenario, whether you have filed an appeal, not filed an appeal, when the order is passed, you can still avail the benefit of this scheme if a notice was originally issued under section 73. So clause A is in the stage of notice you go for a scheme. Clause B, you go in the stage after the order is passed. This distinction you have to keep it, because while filing the procedures, the procedure for clause A is different, clause B and C is different. Clause B and C deals with orders, clause A deals with notice/statement. Okay, statement is periodical notice is called as statement. Okay, so that is how we need to use these words whenever we are reading. If we come across notice, statement, it is A, order means B or C per se. Okay, if you see clause A and clause B, there is a reference of section 73. Now comes C. Order is passed under 107. There is a first appellate authority order is passed, or revision order. See, order has been passed. Revisionary authority has taken up for revision and has passed the order, but no order of the tribunal is passed. Obviously, you can't expect tribunal, because tribunal is not yet set up. But why this? Then you may ask that why is this particular clause being introduced? Because this clause is there up to March 2025. If by the time tribunal gets set up, and if somebody files an appeal and order comes up, so that is why they are referring to this tribunal also in this particular provision, so that in sort of a contingency, if somebody falls into that particular thing, if somebody has already filed an appeal to tribunal, still they can go and withdraw and go for the scheme. But the one viewpoint which came up for discussion was, if you refer to clause C, there is no reference of section 73 in clause C. Okay, so too technically, one of the argument was, that means in case of a order already passed by the appellate authority, whether the order is in the case of 73 notice or 74 notice, there is no restriction, I can opt for it. There is a two extreme view and against the objective and the purpose, so I think may not be successfully accepted, but somebody wants to try, surely can try. Okay. The period covered is 1718, 1819, 1920, not beyond that. Whereas section 16.4, another thing which is not, we are not talking about that today, but 16.4 is up to 21, whereas this 128 is only up to March 2020, that's all. Okay. Now what it says, you have to make a full payment, full payment of tax as per the notice or statement or order. Full payment of tax as per the notice, statement or order on or before the notified date. Okay. This notified date is relevant because, some places it refers date notified under section 128(1), that is subsection 1 of 128A. So note this point, presently this particular notified date is 31st March 2025. Please note that notification also I will bring out, there are two separate clauses there. General clause is this 31st March 2025. The other clause covers some other situation which you need to know, which is very important, especially in all the cases where show cause notices have been issued under section 74. I repeat, wherever the notices have been issued under section 74, there is another date that is not 31st March 2025. So you need to keep that in mind. Okay. So if you pay the tax, full tax as per the notice within the notified date, interest under section 50 and penalty is not payable, and all proceedings in respect of the said notice shall be deemed to be concluded. Okay. There are certain questions which comes up. What happens to the late fee? What happens to the redemption fine? Looking at the act, it says all proceedings in respect of the notice gets concluded. Okay. Payment condition is of the order of taxes only. Waiver is of interest. Proceedings thing, there is nothing mentioned about a late fee, but the CBSE clarifies this waiver is not applicable for late fee and redemption fine, etc. So to the what extent that is true, not true, we have to test it. But I am just telling, now bringing out the issues when and there where it is, I look at the provisions, I am saying on that. Here comes the first provision to that, where the notice has been issued under section 74. Okay. If the notice is issued under 74 and the order is passed or required to be passed by the proper officer, etc., etc. Basically here in section 74 is, as I told, fraud, etc., etc. Now notice is issued, you contest the notice, adjudicating authority, they will not change. They are not supposed to change. They can't change all the three things. Okay. But you file an appeal against that order to the appellate authority. In the appellate authority, madam, front side seats are there. In the appellate authority has a power by virtue of section 75 subsection 2 to consider the representation and say, yes, you are right. Your case do not fall within the clutches of section 74. In such a scenario, they can convert the proceedings from 74 to 73. Within that, if it is whatever the demand permissible within the time limit will be sustained. Okay. So consequent to such order of the appellate authority or tribunal or court, I am repeating, it is not only the appellate authority, it can be the tribunal or it can be in the court. So your appeals can be, you can continue to appeal 74 notices and finally you get a relief after 5 years. Still we have an option to come into the scheme. Okay. If the notice is issued at 74, if a notice is issued at 73, no, door closed, 31st March 25. But if the notice is issued at 73, the door will be open still. Still you take the matter to whatever the level you want to take and get the order. Okay. So there, if consequent to the appellate authority court's order and the adjudicating, the proper officer will pass a revised order, giving effect order, will be what we call, then this particular A and B, whatever as the case may be, it is deemed to be that you are falling into that. So basically then, if such order, that second order passed by the authority will be deemed to be eligible for the benefit of clause A or clause B. So in such a case, you will be eligible for the scheme. I was talking about the notified date. As far as these type of situation, the notified date is 6 months. 6 months from the date of such order by the authority who is going to pass an order giving effect to the appellate authority's order. So that is more important for us. So somebody was telling in the beginning that all the central notices are under section 74. Okay, do not lose heart. In fact, in one way it is good. We got much more time. We have got all the issues to agitate, and only the finally we not hurry up to close the proceedings. Wherever our genuine issues are there, we did not compromise and go and pay. We go up, let's get what all the demands we want to get dropped, and whatever finally becomes liable to be paid without having an intention to evade payment of tax, if we are able to establish, obviously that will be accepted in majority case of initial 3 years paid in the tribunal or court level. Then at that time you can opt for the scheme and go for the scheme. So that is, this proviso is talking about that, and the special date is given for that, which I think in many of the discussions you may not find so, you will not observe this particular point. So I am highlighting specifically this point on that. Okay. This is just merely a tabulated summary of the thing which I already explained. Okay. Okay. There is another situation which I have to explain. Now, there is a notice, you went and concluded, so no issues. There is an order for which you went for the scheme. You paid and the matter got concluded. Okay. If the entire order was against you, if you are going for the scheme, the second provision is not applicable, not relevant. There may be a situation where, as I told little while earlier, notice, you went, convinced the officer by whatever the means, out of 5 issues, 3 issues got dropped. For 2 issues, you went for the scheme and concluded. Now, for the 3 issues, there is an option for the department to file an appeal against that order to the appellate authority, or they can go in revision under section 108 against that particular order. So, if any such revision happens against that order, or if department files an appeal against that order, and consequent to that order, if any amount gets determined, then you will be eligible for this scheme provided you pay that additional amount within 3 months period of that particular order. Okay. Now take a scenario, I close that thing. That amount dropped was say 25 lakh. Amount confirmed was 2 lakh. Now you went for the scheme saying that only 2 lakh, no, we'll pay it and close it. Now it went for this whatever the departmental appeal route, etc. And they order that you need to pay that another 20 or 25 lakh, whatever it is. Now if you do not pay that 25 lakh within this 3 months, what happens? So this 2 lakh benefit you have got, they say it's going to be void. The interest and penalty waiver, that 2 lakh will have to be foregone. That means you will not be eligible for that particular scheme. So I think that is a little of a challenge which there in this second proviso. There, whether can I appeal against that order again further, there is no mention about it, whether, because here it doesn't want you to go further in appeal against such revision order or such appellate order. You have to conclude there is no option of further appeal. Then probably if it is against principles of natural justice or any other provision, you may look at taking in writ petition and quashing that order rather than going for an appeal. When you go for it within the 3 months, then obviously the time period you can always seek an extension in the court of law. So that is how you can take a route in such a scenario where department takes a route of a revision or a departmental appeal in those scenarios. I just listed out that only. What all it can be, the department has filed appeal before the appellate authority or a tribunal or high court or supreme court or through suo motu proceedings. Again, it cannot be a first stage, it can be multiple stage for them, but for us only one stage. Okay. Obviously, interest and penalty is not payable on that such additional amount determined if you pay within that 3 months time. So that is the point. There is a third proviso which says that in this entire process of the scheme, if somebody has already, as I told, paid either partial interest and penalty, full interest, partial penalty, whatever the extent which has gone into the government exchequer, you have no authority to claim it back, claim a refund. So this scheme doesn't permit you to claim refund. Here it says already been paid. So the question is, sometimes you have not paid, it has been recovered by the authorities through bank attachment or garnishee orders. Whether this provision applies to that scenario also, as per the CBIC circular, yes, they say this particular condition applies even for those cases where the government has already recovered the money. So in such cases, you cannot claim refund of such amounts. Now at this point in time, welcome Naveen. Okay. At this point in time, so as a word of caution, who are the taxpayers who have not filed an appeal, though the 3 months period is lapsed, who are wanting to go for this scheme, don't simply keep quiet. If they initiate a recovery and recover that interest penalty, then you will not effectively have the scheme. Either write a letter asking them to think or be cautious about it, or if you want to protest your interest, file an appeal with payment of pre-deposit for the time being. Later on, anyhow, whenever you want to make a payment, you can withdraw and make a payment. So protect your interest of not initiating a recovery mechanism. Don't relax and keep quiet, or simply don't wait by writing a letter, especially if you are moving towards the December and March. There will be a collection drive, so you can't expect what can happen against your accounts. Okay, so this is a sort of a word of caution which I would like to suggest. Further, the scheme says this notices involving erroneous refund, demand for erroneous refund, these provisions are not applicable. Okay, because 73 or 74 deals with short payment of tax, non-payment of tax, wrong availment of input tax, wrong utilization of input tax, and erroneous refund. So in case of a erroneous refund, these provisions are said to be not applicable. Now various questions do come that what happens if a notice involving this issue as well as other issues, how it is to be dealt. We'll come to that. There is a specific mention about that in the rules. We'll deal with that separately. Further, they say the benefit of this scheme will not be available unless you have withdrawn the appeal or writ petition if you have filed against any such notices, statement or order. Repeat. So somebody would have challenged a notice as soon as it would have come in a writ petition, or notice has come, order is passed, that order you have filed an appeal before the appellate authority, or you have challenged that order before the court in a writ petition. Okay. In such a scenario, whether you can apply for the scheme parallel, I mean when that is live, they say if that is live, you cannot go for this, you need to withdraw. You need to withdraw those appeals or a writ application and go for this particular scheme. Now, the procedures will come to that later. Now the question is, okay, you apply, you can't fulfill, your notice gets rejected for whatever reasons. Okay, so then what happens to the appeal which was originally withdrawn? If the application filed is rejected, your appeal gets restored. Okay, there is a little of a difficulty you need to be cautious about. With the aspiration to go for a scheme, you withdraw the appeal, but you can't make a payment. Since you cannot make a payment, you cannot file an application for the scheme. Then you are neither there nor here. So until unless you make a payment, don't make a mistake of applying for a withdrawal. So because you have a 3 months time after making a payment, after the due date to file an application. So it is not at first application then payment. It is the first payment then application. So you have a 3 months time at least minimum for you to file an application. So do not venture into withdrawing an appeal before you making a payment as per your understanding of the liability. Then only better go for an application. Otherwise there may be issues which you will face. The clients may be in difficulties maybe you can file again restoration application. To what extent will be accepted, not accepted, there is going to be a challenges. So this is one point which I am cautioning you practically. So if you are to talk about until unless you have made a payment, don't try to apply, because there is a time limit given. If you have not got the withdrawal order, there is a further extension given. So no need to worry on that, they have taken care of it. But the step is first make a payment, then withdraw, then file an application. Okay. Further, when any order, after you file an application and the proceedings get concluded through issue of SPL 05, then no appeal rests against that order. That means you cannot file appeal against the concluded order. It's only to give finality of it. Okay. These are the points which I already explained. This is a notification which I was talking about, 21st of 2024, dated 8th of October 24. I told there are two separate notified dates. As far as application under clause A, B or C, it is 31st March 2025. But the first proviso where notice issued 74 gets converted into 73 at a later point in time, then you have got an option for going for that scheme if you are able to make a payment within 6 months from that particular date. There I think the 74, there may be issues where partially the authorities convert into 73, rest of the thing it may not get converted. Okay. So then what happens, we'll discuss that also. Basically there is a rule is talking about you have to conclude the total notice, no part by part. So whether that legal sanctity of that we can discuss, but for the time being you have to conclude. If you are going for that, you need to close the entire notice proceedings. Appellate is nothing but a continuation of notice. So entire issues in the notice, either in your favor the order should be there, or it should be through a payment, and wherever that is under 73 you pay, get the relaxation of interest and penalty. Where it is confirmed against you under 74, you have to pay the balance amount also. Okay. Now rule 164 is newly added into the rule book. It is already added with effect from 1st of November 2024. Okay. So basically this provides conditions as well as a procedure. Okay. So what is that it covers? Before I go into it, this is in fact the explanation to rule 164 says who is a proper officer for this rule. Under the GST law, I'm not getting into that too much. We need to always check who is a proper officer. Who is a proper officer for the either notice, order, rule. So that check you have to check the validity of the proceedings. Here it says for these proceedings, as far as the notice or a statement is concerned, that is clause A is concerned, it is the proper officer for issuance of order under section 74. The 74, whoever is entitled to adjudicate the matter, he will become the proper officer. Whereas in case of the orders, which is at clause B and C, which is in SPL 02, in such a scenario, it is said that officers who are empowered under section 79 will be the proper officer. 79 is the recovery provisions. So some obviously assistant commissioner, deputy commissioner. So effectively take a scenario where in a center after certain amount joint commissioner or additional commissioner comes into picture. Okay, joint commissioner or additional commissioner comes into picture for adjudication. But for 79 it is only assistant commissioner and deputy commissioner. So in such a scenario the application in SPL 2 can be decided by assistant commissioner, deputy commissioner, need not be by the assistant commissioner, joint commissioner or additional commissioner. Whereas In case of application of clause A, it has to be by the joint commissioner or the additional commissioner in those scenarios. Okay, so that is one thing which you can keep in mind. Sub-rule 1 talks about, I'm going rule wise so that I don't miss out anything in the process. Basically it says in case of the notices or statement by virtue of subclause A, I think all this presentation they say they are going to circulate by afternoon to everybody, that's what I was told. Okay. SPL 01 is the form which has got the details of various information is being asked, and it is going to be in common portal. We are yet to see what are all the technicalities, difficulties involved therein. Okay, some of them which I am prima facie seeing I will discuss, others you will get to know only when we get on to filing those applications. Okay, and we do not know if somebody makes an error in these applications and lose the time limit, then obviously I think Naveen is there to take it to High Court, get the relaxation done. Okay, so first, where it says you should file this application along with DRC 03. DRC 03. Okay, now I might have paid taxes or they would have recovered taxes from me, the benefit is eligible, but is there a scenarios where I might already have paid the taxes through any form other than DRC 03? How do I file an application? So there will be a challenge. I take a simple scenario. I paid a tax through returns. Okay. When I am saying this, I am cautious that there is one clarification which is given which may go against me, but still I am emphasizing that particular point. Okay, or any other mode with the recoveries where DR03 is not available with me or is not required for me because already that amount is taken out from me at the notice stage. Okay, we are talking about notice stage. Order stage comes a different. We are talking about a notice. So notice DRC 03 is a must. Now the question is, in DRC 03 whether it should be only through cash payment. Answer is no. You can make a payment through DRC 03 using input tax credit also. We are talking about only about taxes. We are not talking about interest and penalties. Therefore cash payment may not come. However, it is clarified through a circular saying that in case the notice is dealing with erroneous refund or dealing with RCM liability non-payment, they say you need to pay the tax only through cash portion or a cash ledger, cannot be through input tax credit ledger. So this is a clarification issue. Correctness of that I am not getting into it. So you may have to follow that as far as possible. If it is not possible, then we'll see what is to be done at a later point in time. So universally this is a clarification. You can use input tax credit or cash except for RCM and erroneous refund of the tax element. Okay. Now in case of an orders for which you are going to a scheme, you have to file SPL 02. So in case of a SPL 02, the payment mechanism is said to be through liability register, not through your DRC 03. If you have made any payment through DRC 03, they have opened a new mechanism called DRC 03A. Using that particular thing, you need to transfer those payments towards a particular order. So that means first of all there should be an order in portal against which there is a liability created. Against that you need to make a payment. If you already made a payment, that payment should be adjusted to that. So first and fundamental thing is whether a order is uploaded or not. either the adjudication order or the appellate order consequently APL 04. There are many cases where we are seeing that such orders have not been uploaded at all. So don't take that as a last thing. Just see, first of all, take out your list of clients who are where this orders or whichever thing you are eligible for the scheme, which stage you need to go, when you have to go, make a clear note on it, prepare one checklist, what are all documents, records, action to be taken, and accordingly put out dates and go ahead. If something is not ready, then you should first work to get the basic things ready, then only you can look at payment and going for the scheme. So I think that is how you can look at it. Okay. Again, here also the problem is if something has been recovered already, I have reversed the ITC in returns. See, returns, they have demanded the input tax credit. I have reversed in some returns. How will you adjust that? How will you allocate that? So there is going to be a practical problem while filing the application. Though scheme appears to be so simple, practically when you get on to filling the form, these challenges do arise. So in such a scenario, when you file an application, if you are clear with everything and you already paid essentially, don't wait till last date. Try to do it now itself, because they can pass the order rejecting, then you can file appeal against that. All those time limits are there, so you can proceed faster if you have some doubts on that aspect of it, and also there is no need of actually payment, other payments would have been already done. You need to file an application within 3 months from the notified date. I am repeating, notified date, that is 31st March 2025, or in case of 74 convert 73 within 6 months, that's for payment. So for application, you need after the notified date, notified 6 months after that order. From there we have 3 months to file a application form. Whereas in case of a revision, that is a second provision which was there under 108, then we have 6 months from the date of order. So 3 months is in case of a 74 converted into 73. In another second provision which was there, where I told department appeal, department revision, then order gets passed, so we have to make a payment. So there they have said they have given a 6 months from the date of the order for filing making the, I think there's some mistakes, I think that last column, it is 6 months only the time limit there. Okay. Here, this particular sub-rule 3, it talks about full amount of tax demanded. Okay, tax demanded means even input tax is considered to be tax for this purpose. Okay, even refund is also treated as a tax here. So we are talking about that. Tax is not only the payable, it is also input tax credit. Further, also the erroneous refund. Okay. It also says if there is an erroneous refund also, that also has to be paid. That also has to be paid. However, you see, as per the rule, it says you have to make a payment of only the tax, the basic tax for that refund. Scheme is not eligible for refund. I am repeating, scheme is eligible not for applicable for the interest and penalty for refund. But you need to make a payment of that refund amount within that date. Okay, I made a payment of that particular, I need to make a payment of that amount within that time period. Interest and penalty I need to pay later. After the conclusion order is given, I need to make a payment of interest and penalty on this erroneous refund. So first you pay the basic tax, apply application, they will confirm and conclude, then you have to make a payment of interest and penalty. If you don't make an interest and penalty within 3 months of that particular SPL 05, the order gets void and everything becomes payable. some Swift Desire car number 6246. Car number 6246, I think they are requesting to please change the place where they are parking. Okay. Now the question is, why should they? Okay, I am not eligible for scheme. Let them not keep it separate and deal it separately. They say no. The objective of the scheme is to reduce the litigation, not to continue with the litigation. Either it is fully no or fully yes. You fight fully or you get out fully. You can't be there partly take a benefit and partly be within the scheme. So it is essentially to reduce the burden of the government administration, not effectively give you a relief, in other words. Similarly, if a show cause notice covers a period say 1718 to 2021, then what happens? You are eligible only for the scheme up to March 20, but the notice is covering one more period extra. They say that extra period is not covered. So what is to be done? Same like a refund. You pay tax, full tax in that for that period, apply. Once you get the scheme, you pay interest and penalty for that 1 year and avail the scheme. Otherwise, get out of the scheme fully. So now you have to make a choice. Whether to surrender for that 1 year to get the benefit of 3 year interest and penalty, or go ahead and contest for all the 4 years. So this is what is there is one thing, I think one topic which is not covered today is this amendment to section 16 by insertion of subsections 5 and 6. 16 4 cases where you should claim the credit within the September next year or November, as the case may be. So they have given a relaxation for the period up to 2021, provided you have filed returns by 30th of November 2021. Okay. So that is the scheme. I mean the procedure set out that is to file a rectification application for that. So you may file a rectification application for an order which is already there. So if it is a notice or already appeal is pending, so they will decide that matter. So they are saying if your orders, okay, because notice is concerned, nothing, because again notice, you need not pay that amount, either notice or order, you need not pay anything because the amount payable under the scheme excludes the amount payable by virtue of section 16.4, which is given relaxation by insertion of 16.5. If that is the only issue, if any other issues of a credit is there, then that is not covered. Okay. So in such a scenario, they say for example 10 lakh is a demand in the notice, two issues. One is eligibility of not eligibility, output 1 and 3B output tax demand, and say out of 10 lakh 2 lakh is that, 8 lakh is 16.4. So in such a scenario, the amount you need to apply for the scheme is only 2 lakh, not 10 lakh. So 8 lakh is excluded from the definition of the tax payable under the scheme itself. So you need not go. Next question, should I go for rectification of the order in case of orders? They say no, not required. If you are going for this scheme, for that order, then again there is no need of one more procedure for the scheme, I mean for rectification. This scheme, if you go, that's enough, is what has been clarified in the rule as well, and circular. I think another 5 minutes left. I will just try to quickly do anything which I have missed out. Yeah, as I told, if any appeal is already preferred, they say you have to withdraw, and the proof of that withdrawal has to be enclosed. By chance, on the date of application, you have not got the withdrawal order. So they say, please enclose the application made by you for withdrawal. That is sufficient. So, couple of seats here also. Okay. So application. Later on, once you get the order of the withdrawal, you need to submit that after you got the order within a month, 1 month's time. So within a month of you getting the withdrawal. So there is no timing. So effectively you file an application within that's 3 months from the cutoff date. Once you file an application within the cutoff date, at that day you did not got the withdrawal. So though you have filed an application, that application you have to enclose as a document. So they will not process your application, they will keep it pending. So once you got the withdrawal order, within 1 month of getting the withdrawal order, you need to submit that. After that, they will process the application. So that is the entire sequence in which it is going to happen.
Since mobile data is turned off,
Okay.
you have to turn on Wi-Fi.
Say you file an application, the authority feels, no, you are not eligible for the scheme. Example, as I was mentioning, you are paid through credits or you have declared some amount subsequently, all those things. So in such a scenario, they feel that you are not eligible for the scheme or the full amount has not been paid. In such a scenario, you still file an application. They will have to issue your show cause notice with the reason why they want to reject you from that particular scheme. So then you are required to file there within 3 months of the application. They need to issue that notice. You have 1 month time to reply for the notice. They have 1 month time to process the application after you file a reply. If you don't file an application reply, then 4 months from the date of application they need to conclude the proceedings as well. Okay. If he is satisfied with your reply, SPL 5, that is the conclusion, the order. So if some sits here, fine. So one more espresso Maruti 2955 Maruti, their car, yeah, please. So if they feel that your reply is not acceptable, they may issue an order in SPL 7. SPL 7 is a rejection order. That order, you have a option to appeal against that order to the appellate authority. You have a right to appeal against that to the appellate authority. Once the appeal is decided, you can come back for the the scheme again. If they again holds that it is not eligible, then you are out of the scheme. If already you have been issued with the conclusion order SPL 5, so what is the procedure they need? They need not issue one show cause notice issued. Generally, all show cause notices should be concluded with the DRC 07. But here they have given a relaxation. If SPL 5 is there is no need of DRC 07. That is a procedural thing. In case if it is an order, all the order is already updated in the lab register, that amount requires to be modified in lab register. This is a procedural thing in the system. Actually, again, there is a time limit. If notice is issued in SPL 3, it has to be issued within 3 months. I told you. Then SPL 5 is to be issued if the authority is convinced about your application without getting into notice. Then he has to issue the final conclusion order in SPL 5 within 3 months from the application. Then if SPL 3 notice is issued, then it should be issued within 3 months from the date of receipt of the reply, 4 months if no reply, which I already mentioned. For computing the time limit, that time for reporting the withdrawal order, uploading the withdrawal order will be excluded. If no orders have been passed, the proceedings application is deemed to be accepted. This is what I was telling. If the SPL 7 rejection is issued by you, then the appeal will get, if no appeal is preferred within 3 months plus 1 month, then the original appeal file will be restored. That is, whatever is withdrawn will be restored. Now there is a challenge that the writ application, there is nothing like automatic restore. Then probably you have to file application, follow the court procedure and go for it. In the entire provision it is using the word writ. In fact, they say what happens if in case of SLP also this similar provisions to be applied. In the circular they clarify. Okay. And you need to file an undertaking in 8. As I was mentioning that if you do not make a payment of additional amount, your application, your original SPL 5 or 6 will be withdrawn. This I already explained to you. This is nothing but merely a procedure. Okay. I'm coming to the last part. Another couple of minutes are there for me to conclude the time allotted to me. After that, I leave open for some time for questions. This circular repeats whatever we discussed essentially. Couple of points which they tell, which I have a couple of doubts in my mind. I am putting across to you as well. They say interest and penalty recovered. Whether can you claim refund? Circular says no. But I personally feel applying the principles that any amount collected by you which you have not paid should be treated as a deposit, and that is eligible to be claimed for refund. Okay. So, but that anyhow it's an amount you will have to fight it out. It's already gone out of your pocket. Attempting doesn't make you lose anything. Maybe little cost for litigation. That's all. Okay. If there is a delayed payment of, basically only interest, some cases, show cause notes are issued only for interest and or penalties. There will not be any demand of taxes. Where the benefit of scheme is eligible, they say yes with a condition. Okay. Yes, but in cases where you have already self-assessed tax, that amount is recoverable under section 75(12). Hence, the scheme is not applicable. I differ on that view. You may not be eligible, but nothing stops you from attempting because you already paid everything. So, if you get, you get it. If you don't get, anyhow you have to pay. So, you can try to make an attempt on that aspect of it. Why? Because notice under section 73, correct? Karnataka High Court division bench has already told even you for recovering interest, the show cause notice has to be issued. Okay, and whatever that particular 11 is mentioned in section 73 in that circular is also talking about penalty will not be waived, but the proceedings is under the same 73. So the proceedings still under 73 even for that scenario. Recovery might have been initiated. That's only for recovery, but for here, you are still within the 73 provisions, is my understanding, so you can still make an attempt. But we will have to wait and see what happens. Next, one more thing is, if a notice is already issued for demand of interest and penalty, especially interest under section 50, we are of the, we are replying to those type of notices, saying 73 notices. This argument is going against me for the previous whatever I explained, but still I am putting across. If what we are accepting what the department is saying, 73 notice can be issued only for demand of tax and interest payable thereon. There is no provision for demand of interest alone. So the notice itself is invalid. So whether they can recover only interest, I have self-assessed the tax but not self-assessed the interest. Interest I am disputing. So whether I can take that plea, not know where it's going to land. I am only giving a point that somebody wants to take up. You can look at that. As I told in SLP also the same, and it's withdrawn. It says IGST and compensation says whether the scheme is applicable even for that. They say yes because CGST, SGST provisions are equally made applicable for those acts as well. Whether late fee and redemption fine, is it applicable? It is clarified to be no, but as I was reading the provision, entire proceedings and the notice is concluded. When the entire proceedings is concluded, how can there be these amounts remaining? And there is no mention of making payment of these specifically. The next word, payment of tax registers. In case of imports of goods, I will be assessed with IGST. If there is any short payment and a notice is issued for the payment of IGST, whether the scheme is applicable, they say the proceedings happens in that scenario under the Customs Act, not under the IGST Act, so the scheme is not eligible. So I think that is what has been clarified here. I think this gives a little different things, how the proceedings should happen, all those things. I think within the time allotted to me, I am able to complete, though I thought I would have hurried a little bit towards the end, but nevertheless I wanted to give some time for addressing your questions. Any questions, the floor is open. Yes, sir, please.
Thank you for giving us an enlightened speech.
So mic is there, please.
Sir, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
What is the significance of mentioning this notification is applicable from 1/11/2024? Is there any significance of it? Because I am looking at from the angle any show cause notice which are issued before 1/11 or any order passed before 1/11.
Sir, something has to be made effective.
Correct.
They cannot leave it open, so they made it effective.
But generally they put the date, the day when it is published. That
No,
is
no,
the day.
actually they wanted to, because they also have to set up their systems. They thought by November they will set up their systems, still not ready.
Okay, sir, but the other way of I was looking is, suppose if an order is passed today and can I go for an appeal, because the act says that you should withdraw before going for the scheme.
Sir,
But-
you decided to go for a scheme after making payment.
No,
You-
sir.
No, no. I'm telling you, after making payment you can go for a scheme. You decided to go for a scheme after the order is passed. That's your choice.
Either way, sir.
No, I'm telling either way, that's what I'm telling.
Yeah.
You will contest.
No, is there any bar for
I am
me
not
to-
seeing any bar. I am not seeing any bar because the condition of the scheme is that if an order is passed, no order of the appellate authority is passed within 31st March 25, you have to make a payment and make application. You are fulfilling all the condition. You are not violating any condition. So I am not seeing any such restriction.
I can make a choice of withdrawing the appeal before 25th.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Naveen, any differing view? Okay, thank you.
So in the section 128 1A, it talks about notices. The time limit to issue notice for 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20 is already over.
Yes.
So I think so it is actually redundant.
No. Already notice is issued, not yet adjudicated as on date.
No, if they have not adjudicated, that is also time lapse. So if we get an order also, it is invalid. Time barred order, sir.
Somebody has got the order.
No, that is what I'm trying to
Okay, you are saying as of November, the time limit to pass order would have lapsed.
Yeah, so if there is any notice which is coming under 128 1A, this, I mean, if this scheme
There may be a
is not
notices.
applicable.
No, I will look at it. There's a notices which is covering from 17 till 22.
So the High Court has told you cannot issue notices for 4 years.
I'll come to that. In fact, I was waiting for that somebody to say. So you have to first go and challenge that notice. Get that notice split into many things. Okay. First you have to do that exercise. Then get into the scheme which is eligible, which is not eligible. After every question that I have told this, what is the way out if I am having a multiple periods? Go for High Court immediately, get it modified, quash it and get only a separate notices for each year, opt for going for up to 2020, contest the balance period.
So what will happen if they split into multiple years also? Since it is time barred, they cannot issue till 2020.
Agreed.
So 3 years it is.
Agreed.
So 128 1A is actually redundant.
As far as you redundant, officers may be something, some people may not question it, will go ahead and pay.
And the scheme is issue wise or order wise?
Okay, now in some scenarios which exception to that is,
Okay.
somebody would have filed a writ petition against that.
Okay.
Notices. The stay against the notices would have been there. The period of stay will be excluded for counting the time limit. Okay, so there will be some scenarios.
And the scheme is order wise or issue wise?
Otherwise.
So if
Notice or order.
So if 9 issues I am contesting and 1 issue I may not contest, I cannot go for this scheme.
Full notice. Full order.
And if some order is issued under 74 and it is
Okay,
converted.
I didn't tell that. Partially converted means if you have to go to scheme, you have to go for everything and pay 74, you have to surrender. That's what I told you example.
So 74 I'll have to pay interest and penalty.
Penalty, you have to surrender yourself fully for getting the scheme of this.
And if 74 order is converted into 73, whether the time limits of 73 will apply or 74 will apply.
For the notice period, 73 is applicable.
So if somebody has issued a notice for 17, 18 in 74 now,
Gone to that extent.
and if it is converted into 73, the notice itself is
Valid.
invalid.
Then you need not go for the scheme.
Not
See,
go.
all those things you have to examine case to case basis. Somebody who had issued a notice before that date, Goin appeal gets converted, will get. But in your scenario, you need not even go for the scheme because if it gets converted also, effect giving order itself will give you relaxation.
But that is because now 1718 notice they are issuing under 74 only.
Correct, sir. I agree.
Ah.
In that case, the adjudicating authority order itself will be with nil demand. There is no need of going for a scheme.
No, if they put an order, if they are giving an order under 74,
Sir, correct, sir.
and then if we,
I am telling the same thing.
Yeah.
If your order notice is issued now under 74, you file an appeal.
yeah,
Appellate authority says no, it should be 73.
Yeah.
Give effect to that. See, adjudicating authority to pass a fresh order. In the fresh order, as per 73, it is time bar. Demand itself will be 0.
Yeah.
So there is no need of going for a scheme. That's what I thought.
so if we get a notice under 74, and if we are confident that it will fall back under 73, then
Sir, anyhow you have to fight 74 notice. There is no option for this scheme.
okay.
Okay. Go there and see what happens. Okay. Right. Any other questions? Okay. Right. I think yes. I once again thank each one of you for listening and also giving good questions. I once again thank Branch and all the office bearers for giving me support. Thank you, one and all.
So thank you, sir, for taking your time out and then sharing your knowledge with all our members. It was a wonderful session, and can we have a big round of applause to Rajesh Kumar. I request Raju to hand over a memento to CA Rajesh Kumar. Thank you, sir. And with this, we'll now, our first technical session will come to an end, and we will have a tea break for 15 minutes, and then we'll reassemble for the second session. See you after 15 minutes.